And welcome back. Let's go ahead and take a look at how we can use stubs and also even pseudocode to help us develop out a program or a class that will help us accomplish some goal. So to do that, we've gone ahead and created a basic class structure here with a couple different variables and methods in it. But what is this class needing to do? And so this is the problem we're presented with. It says a class will compute the depreciation item based upon its initial value and age. So at this point, we can start asking, okay, what is the thing we want to do? Well, we can first start by saying, well, we're probably going to need some kind of method that can calculate this. So let's go ahead and just add in a method here. I'm going to do it after my set name. And we're just going to say this is a method to calculate depreciation. So with that in mind, what do we need? Well, this is where we can start using some of our pseudocode techniques to kind of help us in this, or even using our stubbing techniques. So for example, we know we're probably going to need a method. So if we have a method, we know we're probably going to need a public, and then we have to figure out some type, and we're going to have to call it, let's say, calculate depreciation. And then I'm going to leave it in pseudocode mode for now, and then we're going to have it do some kind of perform a calculation. And then we can return the value. Now, of course, you notice the return highlighted because it's a keyword, but we're not really worried about that. But this is, of course, how we can approach this from a pseudocode perspective. All right, we're going to have some kind of method. We're going to call it calculate depreciation. We're going to have to perform a calculation, and we're going to have to return that value. All right, so let's just go ahead and now move this into a stub. Now, remember, with a stub, the big thing here is we're not necessarily looking to create the correct formula here, right? We're just looking to be able to test this code. So let me just save this real quick here and change this from type. Let's just say for now, let's make this into a double, because we, of course, if we look at our two types of here are double. So maybe we want to have a double value returned. And then I'll just make that open close parentheses because I know this is a method, followed by a curly bracket, and I'll close this with a curly bracket. All right, let's just quick make a driver class so we can test some of this stuff. Now, for our purposes today, we're going to assume that this driver class is going to be able to, we're going to assume that all these other methods that are in here are functional. And of course they should be. It's a toString, it's an equals, etc. But let's go ahead and look at this calculate depreciation. Now, of course, our equals will have to be updated because we're going to need to include these other items, but we're just, again, going to assume that it is. And we can update it here at the end, but we're going to focus first on the stub. So in my method, let's go ahead and create our object. So stub class on object. We make that a new stub class. And what we want to do is set that to some value. So let's say on object dot set. And of course, right now, because we just have set name, we of course are going to want to set some more values here. So maybe I'll create another method real quick. So let's say public void set item. And all we're going to do is create a couple parameters. So we have a string new name, a double new value, and a double new age. And then, of course, we'll just set those to those values. All right, and that will allow me to set this here. So let's just go ahead and call then set item. And we'll make this, let's say, our name, we'll just call this a vase. Let's give it the starting value of, let's say, 500. How about we do 599? There we go. Just get some decimals in there. And let's say it is 15 years old. Sounds good. All right. And then what we want to do is think about how do we want to call this method to test it. Well, of course, we have a method name here, which is calculate depreciation. And so all I'm going to do is call an object dot, and of course, calculate depreciation. Now, right now, this should work. except for, of course, we have to address this error. But this should work for it. But of course, you see it's returning a double. Now, that means if I just leave this as is, it's not going to do anything. So I'm going to wrap this in a system.out.println, just so we can see what that value is. All right, and so that would, of course, spit that out. So let's go ahead and address this error so we can actually test this method. And so the way we're going to do that is we want to perform a calculation. Now, we don't know what we want that calculation to be, right? So in this case, we can have that calculation kind of be anything. So, for example, we could just say the value of the item times the age of the item. And really, that could be it. That's all we really kind of need to do. Or we can even go one step further and just say return. Let's just give it a double value. Let's just say 10. Technically, that would then meet this. So then if I were to run my driver program, if I run it, the current value is 10.0. Because again, we're not looking to get the actual calculation down quite yet when we're using a stub. We're simply just making sure, does this program call this method correctly? And that's the whole purpose here when we start using our pseudocode to build out these methods. And then we can use stubs to actually use it. Now, we might say, I know maybe I want a little bit more than this. Maybe I want to do the value of the item times the age of the item. And you could do that, and we could always change that later. But just if we need to test it really quick, and we just go ahead and have a quick number that can work with this, this is how you do it.